what's your opinion on personalized ringtones?
Ooh, I feel like there was a time, and it's not that time anymore.
You don't think it's that time anymore?
I feel like in the 2000s, maybe into the early 10s, when we all had phones with like physical buttons on them.
Sure.
You'd like spend money on ringtones.
You would have forgot about that. It costs money.
Yeah.
And only you could hear it.
That was a time when you could do personalized ringtones. I feel like anyone that does it now, there needs to be like a reason. Like I need to immediately know who's calling and if I need to like throw my phone into the ocean.
Yeah.
Or like rush to the phone. Like if it's somebody like, my wife is 9 months pregnant and I would like to have a specialized ringtone to tell me if she's calling.
What would that ringtone be?
That's like the Indiana Jones theme. Like, it is time.
Is it the boulder in this instance?
Yes. And the cave. We know what the cave is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Welcome to Butter No Parsnips. Every week on Butter No Parsnips, your hosts Kyle Imperator and Emily Moyers take you on an adventure through the weird, wacky, wonderful, and sometimes even wicked world of one wayside word. Strange characters, delightful bits, and general joyousness abound. Join them as they test each other's etymological expertise.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Butter No Parsnips. I'm Emily Moyers.
And I'm Kyle Imperator. And Emily, oh boy, I gotta be honest, it's a wild one today. This episode, I'm gonna right off the bat, I think you know this word. You may not know what it means. You might know what it means. You've definitely heard the word before, but you absolutely have no idea where this is going. I didn't.
Great. Ideal.
Perfect. Okay. Emily, your word today is tintinnabulation. tintinnabulation. Tintinnabulation.
So, I'm sorry, did you 30 seconds ago say, Emily, I know you know this word?
I didn't say I know you know it. I thought you may have heard it before.
Never in my life, Kyle. Tintinnabulation?
Tintinnabulation, yeah.
I mean, I do know what this means. It means when you walk to your bookstore to buy a Tintin book.
A Tintin book, yes. That's exactly it, Emily. It comes from France. We love it. Tintin, you've captured our hearts.
Yeah, I mean, the abulation, but that would be ambulation. I'm thinking like it has to do with like movement of some kind, but now I'm not sure why I think that. I guess ambulate is what I was thinking.
Yeah. It does not have to do with movement, but yeah, it does not ambulate there at the end.
What is the language of origin?
Latin, if you can believe it.
Latin. I can't. I can't.
I'm not lying.
J'accuse. I hate that the first one is a single N and the second one is a double N. You know what?
It's funny. It's sometimes historically it's spelt with the one N and the one N, but I keep thinking about that every time I write it. It's like 1 and 2. It's there's something funny about that.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So it is a noun, if that helps.
It looks like a noun. It's like the event of something happening, the Asian.
Yes, correct. Yeah. And it came to English around the mid 1800s. If that gives you any context, it really doesn't.
I mean, it makes sense because the 1800s are when all of the unnecessarily long words that we didn't need were coined.
Literally, yes.
So, this is slotting in where I would expect it to. Okay. Can I have a hint? I'm feeling a C.
Emily, of course you can have a hint. Your hint today is hunchback.
Hunchback. Okay. That does help. Is the Tintin like onomatopoeic in a way?
Possibly.
Yeah. Because also the question was about ringtones, and now you're talking about Hunchback, and that, of course, immediately conjures the bells. Okay.
Emily, you're on a good track. I would say give it a college try.
Yeah, I guess if it's abulation, if it's like the act, then it could be like the act of doing something, which makes me think that tintinnabulation means bell ringing.
Yeah, Emily, you got it. That is the answer. Congratulations.
Nice. Good hints, Kyle. Thank you.
I'm so proud of I'm not a good hint giver, but this one I got it together.
Wow, tintinnabulation is a great word to mean bell ringing.
Yeah, so it means the ringing of a bell or bells, or the sound or music so produced from doing that. And it can also mean a tinkling sound as of a bell or of breaking glass. I don't know why breaking glass, but
they don't sound the same.
I mean, if it's a tiny bell, maybe,
Sure. Or a particularly melodic pane of glass.
Yeah. So, the word comes from the Latin tintinnabulatus, which means furnished with a bell or bells. And that comes from the noun tintinnabulum, meaning a small clinking bell or a bell. It also has to do with some very specific types of historical bells, which we'll talk about later.
Ooh,
but I don't want to get ahead of the game.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. So the prefix here comes from the Latin verb tintino, meaning to have a ringing sensation. And it's a prime example of something that, Emily, you explained in our last episode 126, Susurrus, called reduplication.
Reduplication. That was why you knew what the word meant when I said it.
That's exactly why I knew. I had done the research accidentally.
How perfect.
Would you mind explaining reduplication again for our audience?
It's when a word has the same part of the word twice.
Repeated. Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes it can be like a little different, but it's like duplicated.
Duplicate.
Again.
Yeah, but reduplicate, which always sounds weird to me. It's like there's a redundancy in the word itself.
Yeah, but I mean, absolutely. But you also kept saying reduplificate last episode.
I'm not going to say that at all today. Okay,
that's fine.
I'm a newer, wiser Emily now.
Okay. So the word being reduplicated here, Emily, is the Latin verb tinnio, Tinnio, which means to ring, jingle, or clink. You talked about in the last episode how words can be reduplicated to put emphasis on the word, or it can open it up to mean instead of it happening just once, it's happening like over a period of time, right? And so I think that's what is happening here.
I feel like it's very effective onomatopoeically because it gives you the idea of like a continuous noise.
It keeps happening. It's tin-tin-tin-tin-tinning, right?
Tarantara, tarantara.
Emily, can you think of an English word that has to do with ringing that might be related to tinio?
Oh, tine, like a tuning fork?
No, tine is not related, but that's a good guess. I like where your head's at.
Well, thank you.
Got the medal there.
I'm not sure if I have another guess.
How about tinnitus being the condition in which one hears a ringing sound in your ears?
Yeah, which you have, if I'm not mistaken.
I do, in both ears to varying degrees.
That must be awful.
My life is a living nightmare. But now it's just a little bit better thanks to the word tintinnabulation.
Yes, that you could place it etymologically.
Yes. So, Emily, the word tintinnabulation was popularized by American writer Edgar Allan Poe, which you know, I'm sure.
I got him on speed dial.
We got him on speed dial. You call him twice a week.
Yep. We talked about what the Raven did at our windows, respectively.
Oh, like the Raven is like actively pursuing both of you?
Yes, yeah. Flies back and forth.
Wow. I mean, that's...
passes messages along. Actually,
I mean that's just nice.
Nevermore was from me. To him.
You.
I was sending him that message.
So you basically wrote the poem for him.
I wrote chunks of it, passed along. Quoth the Raven.
So tintinnabulation was popularized by Poe thanks to his poem The Bells. Have you ever heard of that poem?
I've not, but that makes sense. The Tintinnabulation was in it.
It's a great poem, and it uses its own repetition of onomatopoeia. And to introduce us to it, I'm going to read you the entire first verse because it's really lovely. Hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells. How they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night, while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight, keeping time, time, time in a sort of runic rhyme to the tintinnabulation that so musically wells from the bells, 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 from the jingling and the tinkling of the bells.
Wow.
Isn't it so good?
I love poems that have that very like rocking sort of meter. I forget how good Poe is sometimes. It's good stuff.
Really great. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of discussion about this poem and about what it means. As it goes on, the stanzas get like darker and darker. So people have insinuated it means like, dying, and the bells represent, the tolls of time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's just so much that it could mean.
Sure.
Interestingly enough, tinkle, Emily, I was like, is this related?
Oh, to tin. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not, which is unfortunate. It comes from the onomatopoeic Middle English tinklin, which we don't know the origin of that. But like clearly it's like, if that's onomatopoeic and this is onomatopoeic, like they're related, kind of. They're cousins.
Like we've just agreed that this is the word for that sound. Everyone came to the same conclusion.
Yeah. So Poe began writing the poem in 1848, but it wasn't published until after his death in 1849. The New York Daily Tribune's front page, when it published this poem, actually titled it Poe's Last Poem, which is like, God, they must have been waiting on bated breath to title something that, You
think they had that headline like on standby every day?
They did. I think they were like ghost writing fake poems just to publish in case. So many point to Poe as the coiner of this word, but at least one person beat him to the punch. Chapter 12 of Charles Dickens's novel Dombey and Son, which was published in 1847.
I'm sorry.
2 years. Mm-hmm.
Dombey and Son?
Yeah, Dombey and Son. I think it's got to be about like lawyers.
Oh,
it's about a shipping firm.
Dombey
owner.
and Dombey.
Dombey and Dombey. Yeah. 800-588-23. Oh wait, no, that's not it. It's what's the lawyer commercial jingle?
I don't remember. Okay. Oh, Celino and Barnes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dombey and Dombey. That's it.
Yeah. But it's like, why? I don't think I would trust my legal issues to someone whose name is Dombey.
Dombey. Nor should you. He doesn't trust his own legal issues with himself. So this novel, Dombey and Son, was published in 1847, which is 2 years before The Bells was published, right? And it includes the line, "It was drowned in the tintinnabulation of the gong, which sounding again with great fury, there was a general move towards the dining room." I love that like twist at the end of the sentence.
I guess it's one of those dinner gongs that everybody had.
It sounds so like intense though at the beginning.
It's like the dinner gong in Clue.
Yeah, yes. And then we decided to mosey on in for dinner.
We ambulated to the tintinnabulation.
Yeah. So much hand-wringing has been done over where Poe got his inspiration, both for the poem The Bells and for the word tintinnabulation. But in reality, there were many derivations of the word in use by the time The Bells was published, including 5 adjectival forms of this word. Those being tintinnabulous, tintinnabulatory, tintinnabular, tintinnabulary, and tintinnabulant.
All good.
All good. You could use any one of them.
Did you say tintinnabulary?
Tintinnabulatory. Yeah.
That's good. That might be my favorite. That's
I
the
think
most
that's mine too.
unnecessary
Yeah.
syllables.
It really is. Poe scholar Burton R. Pollen draws a connection between Poe and English poet Horace Smith, who Poe once described as perhaps the most erudite of all the English novelists and unquestionably one of the best in every respect. So he clearly knew him. And in 1812, Horace and his brother James wrote a book of parodies entitled Rejected Addresses, which included a parody of the writing style of dictionarian Samuel Johnson for some reason. And that parody was called Johnson's Ghost, and it contained the line, "What stationary absurdity can vie with that ligneous barricado, which, decorated with frappant and tintinnabulant appendages, now serves as the entrance of the lowly cottage, and now is the exit of a lady's bedchamber?"
I loved every word that happened in that sentence.
I think they're just making fun of the fact that he knew words. I don't know.
I mean, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
He did.
He did. That's one of the things he knew. Emily, the thing is, these words all derive from a much, much older term. And for that, we must take a hard left into ancient Greece.
Don't we always?
We always take a hard left into ancient Greece. It's like missing the sign for Albuquerque, you know?
Yeah.
So archaeologist Alexandra Villing writes in the abstract to her 2002 article, "For whom did the bell toll in ancient Greece?" that ancient Greeks used small bells as votive offerings in ritual and funerary contexts, as signaling instruments for town guards, and as apotropaic devices, a term that we covered in episode 110, Aegis, meaning...
I don't remember.
Devices that protect against evil is apotropaic. Protection wards.
Sure.
So in ancient Rome, this manifested itself as the tintinnabulum, a special type of wind chime used to ward off envy or the evil eye, which is what they were all afraid of back then.
I like that.
Now, here is where I need to warn the audience of some lewd language. So if you are a little bit of a prude, maybe skip ahead 10 minutes.
Keep walking.
Keep walking.
We don't want you here anyway.
You're not going to like the language that I have to say.
Now I'm excited.
So Emily, these wind chimes were special, particularly because the bells were attached to a fasinum, which is a term that Jess Safaris introduced to us in episode 26, Sex, Lies, and Insults. Emily, do you remember what a fasinum is?
The image that I'm remembering that she showed us was like a little penis with legs.
You got it. That's what
that
it
was. For some reason, it was like meant to ward off evil.
Yeah,
it was like
exactly
the Aegis penis.
The Aegis penis. The penis Aegis. You got it. I mean, don't they always? If there was a penis with legs in front of you, wouldn't you be like, that is going to save me? That is what a protective thing I have here.
God, men do all believe that their penis is going to save us, don't they? Jeez.
Only when they grow legs, Emily. Yes, so the fasinum was basically an effigy of a magical divine phallus. Yeah. Pliny the Elder compared it to a medicus invidiae, or a physician from jealousy. A penis a day keeps the doctor away, is his thoughts.
I'm sorry, Kyle, is it Pliny? I thought it was Pliny.
I thought it was Pliny too. I looked up like scholars pronouncing his name, and they all pronounced it Pliny.
Wow.
Google says Pliny. Hank Green says Pliny. I trust Hank Green. I mean, I listen, Pliny, Pliny, tomato, penis, pinus. So fasinum, Emily, is also, as Jess told us, where we ultimately get the word fascinating from. Its association with magic leading to the Latin verb fascino, meaning to enchant, bewitch, or charm, which came to English as fascinate, meaning to evoke an intense interest or attraction in someone, or to make someone hold motionless, to spellbind. And then we got the adjective from that.
I remember learning this from Jess, and I remember not knowing that fascinate comes from penises.
It's just a bad thing to know because it's a word that you use, you know?
Yeah, and I had successfully deleted the information from my brain, and now you've restored that save.
You're welcome. You're welcome, audience. So, Emily, the fascinum often took the form of an amulet. And when the ancient Romans put bells on them, they called them tintinnabula, and they hung them around their homes, in doorways and other thresholds, such as to the garden, or the venereum, which was a specialized apartment or room for sexual activity, named after the goddess of love, Venus.
Wow. Okay.
It's just like a documented sex room that some Romans had.
And it's named basically the venereal room.
I know. Well, I was trying to figure out where the pun is of putting your penis in the venereum, but
there's one there somewhere.
Yeah. So historian Carlin Barton writes in her 1992 book, The Sorrows of the Ancient Romans, there were places and points of passage where one was especially vulnerable. Corners, bridges, baths, doorways. The liminal areas were highly charged, dangerous, where one was terribly exposed to the eyes of others. The evil eyes, perhaps.
Sure.
Right? Now, some tintinnabula are just a phallus. Others are depicted as in animals with enormous penises. Sometimes they're like the back half of a winged lion and with a phallus for a torso. There's a million crazy depictions of them.
Wow. Send me that one, though.
Yeah, listen, Emily, if you're looking for dick pics, these are the ones to get.
No, wait.
In his 1966 book, Herculaneum, Italy's Buried Treasure, archaeologist Joseph J. Dice reveals the most dramatic one found is a gladiator on the verge of decapitating his own panther-headed phallus with his sword. It is terrifying.
I feel like you wouldn't want to do that. If it's your panther-headed phallus, then you're just cutting the tip of your dick off.
So there's like a whole thing with like the gladiator representing like victory and it's like hanging that around your house being like a good omen, but also like the dog or like ferocious animals being associated with these phalluses for some reason. There's a lot here.
A lot of like symbolism.
Yeah. Some of it's serious and some of it's not, though, because clearly that's a ridiculous image. And this ridiculousness was not lost on the Greeks and Romans. The 2nd century Greek scholar Julius Pollux writes of tintinnabula in his Onomasticon, saying it was customary for the metalworkers to hang certain laughter-provoking objects, such as tintinnabula, to avert envy. So he like clearly states like these were funny things.
So that's how it blocked the evil eye. It just made you giggle.
Literally, Emily. Yes, you got it. Actually, so of the image of the phallus as an apotropaic device, archaeologist Veronique Dassin writes in her 2015 article, Proboscania, Amulets and Magic in Antiquity, that the emotion, shame, or laughter created by obscenity is chiefly at work, diverting the envious gaze of onlookers. Which is like, you can't be envious if you're too embarrassed to look at it.
Is that generally the approach to men's public bathrooms as well?
I mean, haven't you been to my bathroom?
I haven't
just a public restroom.
I mean, like urinals, you know, you can't be envious if you're too embarrassed to look. Is that sort of the unspoken rule?
That's exactly it. That's the whole reason we don't look, you know?
That's how you negotiate that experience.
I'm just letting you guys into the male experience here.
I appreciate it because I often wonder about that.
It goes all the way back to ancient Rome, Emily. Ancient Roman urinals. They called them urinals back then.
Urinal the Elder.
Urinal the Elder, yeah. At least one existing tintinnabulum depicts the ancient Greek god Priapus, who is a kind of a joke god with a giant erection that most people didn't seem to take seriously. Like, there's like comedic poems about how powerless he was of a god.
Just the comic relief in the pantheon.
Yeah, it's like we needed someone to make us laugh, and Priapus is
yeah. We got Big Dong Guy for that.
Big Dong Guy. Yeah. Folks might recognize the name Priapus from the medical condition priapism, which is a potentially painful condition where one's erection does not go away. It's usually a sign of a spinal injury. It's a very terrifying thing.
Yeah, I had never heard of that, but I guess probably having to do with the fact that I don't have a penis, so it's not really like on my radar.
Yes, exactly. It's not on your radar. But if it were on your radar, Emily, priapism can also be used figuratively to mean an obsessive focus on one's genitals or need for genital gratification, which is like, all right, that's like a useful way of using that, not a less scary way of using that, right?
That adds up.
So in ancient Rome, Priapus was sometimes equated with the Roman phallic marriage deity. Get ready for this guy's name. Mutinous Tootinus.
No. Nope. I refuse to believe that's real. That is something a prospector made up in 1874, Kyle.
Emily, his name was Mutinous Tootinus.
Mutinous Tootinus.
Maybe there was some
I'm the
ancient
Mutinous
Roman
Tootinus gal in the West, Kyle.
You are, Emily, without a doubt. When I came across the name Mutinous Tootinus, I said, I don't care what else happens in this episode. I'm talking about Mutinous Tootinus.
How can you spell it? Is M-U-T?
Of course I can. M-U-T-U-N-U-S T-U-T-U-N-U-S.
Mutinous Tootinus.
Mutinous Tootinus.
I hate this. I mean, I love this.
Yeah.
But I hate that this was real.
There's just a little bit more I have about him, and get ready for this, Emily.
I wish the whole episode was about him.
So, Emily, supposedly, early marriage ceremonies in, I guess, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, involved the bride straddling an effigy of his great member in order to ready themselves for intercourse. In quotes, obviously to make her fruitful, according to ancient Greek philosopher Plutarch.
Obviously. That's
without a doubt.
That's the most Mutinous Tootinus obvious thing you've ever heard.
What else? What other reason could you do that?
Wow. I'm imagining it like it's the size of like a mechanical bull that she rides in on.
Literally me too. I don't know. But that is how I'm imagining it. Like, I'm imagining like a Five Nights at Freddy's kind of figure, you know?
No, in my head it's like cast in bronze, but giant. And she's just
it's
on
like
it.
R2-D2. Yeah. So, but also, Emily, like Tintinnabulum, Mutinous Tootinus's name itself is reduplicative. Perhaps originally from Mutinus Titinus, Muto, Mutonium, and Titus, all possibly being Latin slang words for penis.
So his name was just Dick.
It was just Dick.
Wow. I mean, this is fantastic knowledge, and I appreciate it very much.
I'm so glad. All right, Emily, we're gonna taper back now.
Settle down. All the prudes who left earlier, you can go back in.
Now's the time to come back. So, going back to animals and dogs, right? The animal connection with Tintinnabula evolved in the late antiquity. So a few texts from 6th century Gaul refer to the tintinum, or the tintinum, as a small bell hung round the necks of herd animals to keep track of them. Interestingly, all of these texts refer to them being stolen off of the necks of like horses and pigs and like angrily. And it's like, you guys, this isn't doing the job, you know?
Clearly your system isn't working.
Gotta fix this. Possibly the earliest use of the word tintinnabulation, even earlier than the Dickens quote, keeps this theme. The 1951 edition of A Dictionary of Americanisms on Historical Principles cites an 1845 letter, which doesn't exist anymore, which is why I say possibly. But the quote reads, "Others bore a distinct resemblance to the tintinnabulations of jingled cowbells."
It's like funny, there's like different bell characterizations in your head, and I feel like a cowbell is a very different from like any other kind of a bell. So it's weird to hear the word applied to both.
I think like at this period of time, the bells that were hung around the necks of animals were small jingly bells like that were on the tintinnabulum.
Sure, not like a big clunky bell like you think about.
But the earliest English use of the word tintinnabulum, Emily, goes back to around 1398. In a translation of Bartholomeus Anglicus's forerunner to the encyclopedia, which he called De Proprietatibus Rerum, or On the Properties of Things. In it, he describes the tintinnabulum as the bella that is ofte honged about the neckes of houndus and feet of fowlus and bridis.
I think I got that.
Yeah.
The bell that's hung on our animals' necks.
On dogs and bird feet for some reason. Tintinnabula also had other more religious purposes as well, Emily. Academic Neville Mogford notes in his 2024 article, Exeter Riddle 4 and two other bell riddles, that in early medieval English monasteries, the tintinnabulum was a small handbell that was usually rung for some time, often associated with nighttime prayer, marking out periods of transition, such as the ordered procession to church, and so the tinkling of tintinnabula must have been a common one in the early hours of the evening and morning.
Wow.
During the Middle Ages, a tiny bell on a pole, also called a tintinnabulum, supposedly led papal processions in order to alert Romans that the Pope had arrived. And nowadays, this version of the tintinnabulum, along with the papal coat of arms, and an umbrella used to shade the Pope, variously called an umbraculum, an umbrellino, or a canopium, is kept in minor Catholic basilicas to represent the church's papal connection.
Wow.
They just keep them like decorating the place to be like, yes,
I'm gonna start calling my umbrella an umburaculum.
An umbraculum.
An umbraculum.
It's like a miraculous umbrella. Speaking of the church, Emily, segue.
A
rumor exists that Poe's The Bells, see, I brought it back, was at least partially inspired by Fordham University's church bells, as
specific.
He lived nearby and he was a frequent visitor of the university.
Wow.
On the campus. He liked to talk to the people and the Jesuits, the students.
And do they have good bells there?
I don't know. We got to take a trip to Fordham University to find out.
Wow. Kyle said, I'm reserving judgment.
And yet another source, Emily, purports that Poe himself admitted privately that the final inspiration for the bells was none other than Charles Dickens, specifically the follow-up to his A Christmas Carol, which was entitled, get ready for this, The Chimes, a goblin story of some bells that rang an old year out and a new year in.
I love this D&D one-shot.
Yeah. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Does that exist? Can I go find that and read that?
Of course you can. This
nice.
It's his second Christmas book. It's his sequel.
Sure.
And the chimes, of course, are referring to like church bells that are rung throughout the book.
And the goblins are referring to goblins?
I don't know. I didn't get that far. But our producer is telling us that we have talked about this before on a Patreon episode. So go listen to our Patreon episode.
We did.
Charles Dickens and A Christmas Carol.
Yes, we talk extensively about that.
Yes. Anyway, Emily, wrapping up. Poe used the theme of bells a lot in his oeuvre, and he clearly liked the reduplicative sound of bells. In his short story, Lionizing, he even conspicuously names a character Signor Tintintino.
Love that guy.
But now, Emily, it's time for you to sound the bells and use tintinnabulation in a sentence.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure I can.
I'm sure you can.
Tintinnabulation. I very much enjoyed the tintinnabulation of my college's bell tower. It would ring out the Big Ben tune every hour on the hour, and then at noon it would do a little other song, and that's how you knew it was noon. It was the tintinnabulation of the bell tower on campus.
Beautiful. Perfect.
Kyle, can we play a game?
Cut right to the chase. Emily, let's play a game.
Let's play.
Emily, your game today is called The Adventures of Tintinnabulation.
Yeah, you and I were on the same page about that, huh?
We're on the same page, yeah. So the earliest use of the adjective tintinnabulary is in a humorous glossary, believe it or not, of reduplicative words, penned by dramatist George Coleman the Elder, in which he describes the word ding-dong as tintinnabulary chimes, used metaphorically to signify dispatch and vehemence. I have no idea what that means. So, Emily, for this game, I'm going to give you some of his other definitions, and you're going to have to tell me what reduplicative word he's talking about.
Okay. Love it.
Okay. So your first definition is pseudo-necromancy. Think maybe Halloween-y.
Uh-oh.
Perhaps a film title that had a sequel recently.
I am so... Hocus Pocus?
Hocus Pocus, Emily, you got it. You got there. All right, Emily, ready for your next one?
Yeah.
Transverse angles.
Transverse angles. Can you define transverse for me? For the mathematically impaired?
Like opposite angles?
Okay.
Try and draw it in your head.
Try and draw it in my head.
Like, draw it with your finger right now, what opposite angles would look like.
I mean, what I'm picturing is like this.
Try and draw it in a line.
A crisscross?
No.
Oh,
but that's good.
Wow.
That's good. Emily, that was your guess. I'm going to tell you the answer.
That was my guess. Crisscross was my guess.
The answer is zigzag.
Zigzag.
It's all right.
All right.
You got three more, okay?
1 for 2.
These next 3 are all hard. So, good luck.
Oh, those were the easies. Good.
Yeah. Your next one is pages of inanity.
Pages of inanity. Oh, I mean, I feel like there's a bunch of ways this could go to like describe just like gobbledygook. The phrase that jumped into my brain that I don't think is a real phrase that anyone uses is scribble scrabble.
Emily, that's the answer. I cannot believe you got it.
No, it's not.
That is the answer. I'm stunned.
I wasn't even going to say it out loud because I didn't think it was real.
That's the answer. He puts down scribble scrabble.
Scribble scrabble.
Word.
Good.
Scribble scrabble.
Good.
Yeah, it was a flatus brought you scribble scrabble. You couldn't get zigzag.
Who would ever know a word like zigzag?
All right, Emily. Well, listen. I funnel this energy into the next 2.
Hold on to it.
Your next one is aerial suspension.
Oh, aerial suspension. I'm picturing like on a bungee cord.
Oh, sure. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And that's gonna help me.
Yeah. If something's like at the bottom hanging, what are they doing?
They're hanging around.
Yeah.
I really wish I could think of something great right now. I gotta give up.
That's totally fine, Emily. The answer is dingle dangle.
No, I was never gonna get there. I can tell you right now.
I did not think you would.
It's not as obvious as Scribble Scrabble.
It's definitely, clearly not as obvious. The gods did not. They're like, we're hands off on this one.
Wasn't as front of mind as Scribble Scrabble was.
All right, Emily, your last one is conglomeration and confusion.
The first thing that jumped into my head was Helter Skelter, but I don't think... Kyle,
I'll say that's really good. No, I'll say that's really good. He also had Helter Skelter on the list, but that's not what it is.
I'm just coming in with the niche ones. Don't got any of the obvious ones.
Yeah, you got all the B-sides here.
Higgledy-piggledy.
That's the answer. You got it, Emily. Really? The answer is higgledy-piggledy.
Yes! I can only get to it if I'm not thinking at all. Fun, Kyle. I really liked that.
I had so much fun putting this episode together.
This was a great episode. Lots of fun twists. It's like a niche use case word, but like a really good one to pull out because it's so descriptive and like has a good like it's like satisfying to say. It's always satisfying to have like the exact right word for a thing. Mm-hmm. So like if you're in a situation where you hear bells, you're like, boy, do I got a word for right now?
This is the word. This is that word.
Great stuff.
Thank you, Emily.
Hey, everybody out there listening, watching, remember that you can watch us on YouTube at Butter No Parsnips. And you can find Butter No Parsnips on other social media, on Facebook and Instagram at Butter No Parsnips Podcast, and on TikTok at Butter No Parsnips. And if you liked today's episode, consider giving us a 5-star rating or review wherever you heard us.
And if you really liked today's episode, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/butternoparsnips. Donating $5 or more gets you exclusive access to Buttered Parsnips, our After Hours podcast, where you can listen to possibly episode 15 about Charles Dickens's Christmas Carol.
Thanks so much to all of you. You help us make what we make.
And with that, I've been Kyle Imperator.
And I've been Emily Moyers. And this has been Butter No Parsnips.
Butter No Parsnips is produced by Seth Glicksman, Emily Moyers, and myself, Kyle Imperator. The main and accompanying themes were composed by Kyle Imperator.